In 2024, the world watched as Kendrick Lamar took the top spot in hip-hop from Drake. And in 2025, we saw Kendrick cement his place as the new king of hip-hop. Not only did he drop the biggest album of the year, but he also went on the biggest tour of the year and received the most Grammy awards of any artist that year. It couldn't have been any clearer that he won when he performed Not Like Us at the literal Super Bowl. This was the moment he completely won over the culture. No other rapper before had performed a diss track calling another rapper a PDF file at the Super Bowl. Drake was dissed in front of hundreds of millions of people live. It was like the entire industry as a whole took the crown off Drake's head and placed it on Kendrick's. Now, while Kendrick did become the biggest rapper after beating Drake, his fans would tell you that they love Kendrick not only because he beat Drake in a beef, but because Kendrick is real and authentic and represents morals. He's Mr. Morale after all. They see Kendrick as the true face of hip-hop, while Drake is just the biggest industry puppet. But is that truly the case? Is Kendrick really what he portrays himself as? Or is he really just like Drake, another industry puppet putting on a show for the record labels? By the end of this video, you will come to the realization that Kendrick is not that different from Drake. Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to The Truth Is, where I drop new videos exposing the truth weekly. In today's episode, we will be revealing the truth about Kendrick Lamar. I felt it would only be fair to follow up my last deep dive video on Drake with a deep dive into Kendrick. This video will go over all my research into Kendrick over the years to reveal that he's not that different from Drake. Let's get right into it. Kendrick Lamar was born June 17, 1987 in Compton, California. Growing up, Kendrick dealt with poverty and crime. He lived in an apartment paid for by Section 8, a form of public assistance, and his family also relied on welfare to afford food. Kendrick himself wasn't really a troublemaker, but some of his best friends were in gangs and lived that life. When Kendrick turned 8, he was able to witness his idols Tupac and Dr. Dre filming the California Love music video. Kendrick states that this was an important moment for him. He was a loner as a kid and kept to himself while in school because he was shy. Kendrick would break out of this shell by the time he made it to high school. When he turned 16, he would release his first mixtape under Concrete Jungle Music. His mixtape was well received in his city and ended up getting into the hands of TDE, which would sign Kendrick. He quickly got to work, and for 2 years, Kendrick would be in the studio mastering his sound and perfecting his image before they released his debut project, Training Day. His record label would pull strings and get him to open up for The Game on tour. Kendrick even recorded 2 songs with The Game, going by the name K-Dot. In 2008, Kendrick was put in the background of a J-Rock video, who was also signed to TDE. The song featured Lil Wayne, and Kendrick got the opportunity to meet him, who would eventually give him a cosign. He would gain more recognition after freestyling on one of Charles Hamilton's shows. In 2009, Kendrick would release his third mixtape titled C4, which was heavily influenced by Lil Wayne's The Carter 3. This would be his last project as K-Dot, ditching the name and using his legal name from then on. By the end of 2009, Kendrick linked up with J-Rock, Ab-Soul, and Schoolboy Q, forming Black Hippie. In 2010, Kendrick would end up touring with Tech 9, and in September, he would release his project Overly Dedicated, which entered the 72nd spot on the Billboard Hot 100. One of the songs on the project was Kendrick's Ignorance is Bliss, which eventually caught the attention of no other than Dr. Dre himself, who saw the video on YouTube. Dre quickly held on to Kendrick and put him on a song with Snoop Dogg for his Detox album. This is when people started to speculate that Kendrick might have signed to Aftermath Entertainment. In 2011, Kendrick would get another big look when he was invited to be a part of the 2011 XXL freshman class. Using the momentum of the XXL list, Kendrick announced the release of his project Section 80, releasing High Power from the project. On July 2, 2011, Kendrick would release Section 80, which even though only sold 5,300 copies in its first week, changed Kendrick's life forever. The industry loved this project, and soon after, he was being crowned the new king of the West. Fast forward to today, Kendrick Lamar is currently the biggest rapper in the world. For the last year, Kendrick has completely dominated the industry, dropping a #1 album and winning 5 Grammys in 1 award show. He has been able to make it to a level in the music industry that very few make it to, which is strange for a rapper like Kendrick, who doesn't fit the mold of the average mainstream rapper. How was Kendrick able to become such a big star when he's such an anti-mainstream artist? Most people who listen to Kendrick feel that he's unlike the other mainstream rappers. They feel that his music doesn't often talk about the same concepts that all rappers touch on. While most rappers are rapping about money, cars, and women, Kendrick is rapping about the challenges faced by Black Americans living in America. But even while making songs like this, he was somehow able to go mainstream. This is something that is rather surprising, as music that is deemed conscious normally doesn't receive mainstream attention. But somehow, Kendrick was on the world stage, receiving praise and support from the entire industry, and made it to the very top. This simply doesn't make any sense, as everything the music industry stands for, Kendrick seems to be against. So why is the industry so supportive of Kendrick Lamar? Why has the elite in the music industry chosen Kendrick to be the face of rap? Why did they show so much support and love to him, knowing that he is preaching a message that goes against the industry? To most Kendrick fans, they just believe that he is that talented and his music is that good, and that's the reason he made it to the top. But boy, are they wrong. The truth is, Kendrick isn't who he seems to be. Kendrick Lamar is a puppet, just like the rest of them, pushed to the world by mainstream music. The mainstream music industry wouldn't push Kendrick if he were truly against them. You can acknowledge that every rapper in the industry is a puppet, but when it comes to Kendrick, who's a massive mainstream artist, he's not. That makes zero sense. If Kendrick was against the industry, he wouldn't have a career. He would be an underground rapper you never heard about. Kendrick has been signed to a major record label since day one, and he still is. I have seen so many people comment under my video claiming that Kendrick is an independent artist, but with a Google search, you can find that he has a record deal with a major label. Kendrick releases his music through his own record label called PG Lang, which has a distribution deal with Interscope Records, which is owned by Universal Music Group, the biggest record label in the world. A distribution deal is basically the same as a record deal, with just more leverage on the artist side. A distribution deal is still a record deal. The record label fronted Kendrick a large amount of money for a percentage of the profit his music makes. Just like a regular record deal would give the label power over the artist, so does the distribution deal. The label still has the power to approve songs before they come out. They still can choose to stop songs from coming out and even alter them. It's the same exact deal, but those with a distribution deal have more leverage on the money split side. The label controls Kendrick, just like they control every other artist. All of these rappers had record label support and were made stars by the elite. These elites wouldn't push these artists if it were to work against them. Why would they make Kendrick such a big star if he were really pushing a message against their agenda? It's not happening. Kendrick is a puppet being used to deceive, and by the end of this video, you will see that Kendrick isn't who he seems to be. There's a reason why the elite made Kendrick such a big star, even though he's quote-unquote a conscious rapper. This is how the elite can deceive the people who don't fall for the simple industry themes. The people who aren't hypnotized by money, women, and jewelry. The people who are not falling in line with their agenda. So they create rappers like Kendrick that they can use to deceive those people. As much as you wouldn't want to hear this, Kendrick is an industry plant. Kendrick was recruited at an early age. His first ever mixtape was released under a record label when he was only 16. Before he had any actual fame and recognition, he was already touring with big names and getting co-signs from the hottest artists. He was signed before he had any real buzz, and he was developed by TDE, which was owned by Interscope and UMG. Kendrick was put on Drake's tour when he was a nobody to get him buzz. There were labels pulling the strings to create his career. He got all the mainstream support from day one. This is because he was chosen. Kendrick is a sellout. He sold out like every other rapper and has been showing us this the entire time. Not only does Kendrick show his alliance, but he also uses secret Masonic words in his music. We see a perfect example of this in Jeezy's song American Dream, on which Kendrick is featured on. In the song, Kendrick raps, "I hear the world calling, tell me if you're all in. Look, I gotta eat, I gotta make money with, I gotta feast, I gotta rely on what is known to a traveling man." While this might seem like just another regular verse with nothing to it, there's actually a secret Masonic word hidden in it. In this line, when Kendrick said, "I gotta feast, I gotta rely on what is known to the traveling man," he is talking the Masonic code. The Freemasons have secret ways to identify each other. They use hand grips and secret phrases. One way for Masons who don't know each other to identify that they're members is by asking, "Are you a traveling man?" which literally means, "Are you a Freemason?" This is what Kendrick is referring to by calling himself a traveling man. This is Masonic code, and I believe it proves Kendrick is a Mason. We find plenty of proof when we take a look at his lyrics and the imagery in his music videos. And plenty of Kendrick's songs, he lets us know that he sold his soul to have the world, that he is a puppet being used by the elite. In his song Kendrick Lamar, he states he would never sell his soul, but if you carefully read the lyrics, he admits to doing just that. In the song he raps, "Just to get $1, will I sell my soul? I look the devil in the eyes and tell him hell no. They say anything worth having is worth the wait. Well, I want the world. Tell them how long that takes. There is no time like now. I'll cut my patience short." Even though Kendrick starts the line by saying he would never sell his soul to have the world, by the end of the line, he confirms that he compromised and sold his soul. This bar is telling us that Kendrick wanted the world but didn't want to sell out, but he realized how hard and how much longer it would be to make it on his own. So like he said, he cut his patience short and sold his soul and took the deal. Kendrick knows that to make it to the top, he has to sell his soul, or take the long route which isn't guaranteed. Even though he didn't want to sell his soul, he still in his own words wanted the world, so he was willing to cut his patience short and take the deal for a faster, easier route to the top. This isn't the only song where Kendrick refers to making a deal with the devil for endless fame and riches, as in his song For Sale, Kendrick raps about this exact same thing. In the song, we see Kendrick having a conversation with a person he calls Lucy. Now, who's Lucy? Well, it's a nickname for Lucifer. If we look at the Genius breakdown of the song, they tell us this themselves, that Kendrick is referring to Lucifer as Lucy. Genius said this about the song: "This song offers a deeper insight into the previously introduced figure of Lucy, a character representing Lucifer. As the song goes on, it is understood that Lucy is short for Lucifer, hence the lines about temptation and signing contracts. The name makes the song work in tandem with For Free. Both songs related to his value as a musician and how that transcends into his value as a person. Now, when we look at what this conversation was between Lucy and Kendrick Lamar, we can see that Lucifer was offering Kendrick the world just like he did to Jesus. In the song, Kendrick rapped, "You said to me, you said your name was Lucy. I said, where's Ricardo? You said, oh no, not the show. Then you spit a little rap to me like this. When I turned 26, I was like, oh, you said to me. I remember what you said to me. You said, my name is Lucy, Kendrick. You introduced me, Kendrick. Usually I don't do this, but I see you and me, Kendrick. Lucy give you no worries. Lucy has a million stories about these rappers that I came after when they were boring. Lucy gon' fill your pockets. Lucy gon' move your mama out of Compton, inside that gigantic mansion as I promised. Lucy just wants your trust and loyalty. But avoiding me? It's not so easy. I'm at these functions accordingly. Kendrick, Lucy don't slack a minute. Lucy works harder. Lucy gon' call you even when Lucy knows you love your father. I'm Lucy. I loosely heard prayers on your first album, Truly. Lucy don't mind, cause at the end of the day, you'll pursue me. Lucy go get it. Lucy not timid. Lucy up front. Lucy got paperwork on top of paperwork. I want you to know that Lucy got you. All of your life I watched you. And now you all grown up to sign this contract if that's possible. In these lyrics, Kendrick is referring to the moment he sold his soul. He is telling us how the devil approached him and offered him the world. Kendrick even implies that this deal with the devil was for his record contract, as in the line he states, now you're all grown up to sign this contract if that's possible. Kendrick sold his soul long ago, and he's being used to misguide the masses. He doesn't only tell us this in this song, as he again raps about making a deal with the devil in one of his unreleased songs that is titled Untitled 03, 05/28/2013. You can find the lyrics to the song on Genius. In the song, Kendrick admits that he sold out and became a puppet for the elite. He raps, "A peace of mind, that's what the white man wanted when I rhyme, telling me that he's selling me just for $10.99. If I go platinum from rapping, I do the company fine. What if I compromise? He said it don't even matter. You'll make $1 million or more. You living better than average. You losing your core following, gaining it all. He put a price on my talent. I hit the bank and withdraw. Hit the bank and withdraw. Hit the bank and withdraw. Put myself in a rocket ship and I shot for the stars. Look at what you're accomplishing. I'ma make you some promises that you just can't ignore." Kendrick admits that he is compromising his morals and soul for the world. But like he said, they put a price on his talent and he hit the bank and withdraw, meaning he sold out to the elite who gave him the world. Looking at the imagery in Kendrick's music video also tells us exactly what we need to know. Kendrick presents himself as a Christian and a follower of Christ. But if we look at all of his music videos, we see him worshiping the old pagan gods. The All of the Stars video starts with Kendrick being shown as a god. He is shown on a boat that's being held up by a sea of people. This is a representation of Kendrick being enlightened through the occult teachings. he is also showing himself as a god being worshipped by the masses. At the end of the video, we see Kendrick giving praise to the old Egyptian gods. This is very telling and contradictory. Kendrick claims to be a Christian who worships Christ, but is showing us he is praising the old pagan gods, something that God forbids in the Bible. This makes zero sense. The Masons get all their rituals and practices from ancient Egypt. Their Masonic rituals are meant to channel these deities. Aleister Crowley built his entire occult religion on worshipping Egyptian gods. From this video on, Kendrick started taking on this Christ-like figure. We see this persona fully embraced in his N95 music video. The entire video is just Kendrick presenting himself as Christ. Kendrick starts the music video with a young boy looking at him, levitating over the world as if he were a god. Clearly, once again, we see him depicting himself as a Christ-like figure. The scene then changes to show him rapping next to a woman wearing a Masonic checkerboard skirt. The video is full of instances where it compares Kendrick to Jesus. They show him walking on water just like it said Jesus did. The video ends with Kendrick levitating over the world. The message is clear as day. On his album cover that this song is on, Kendrick is also showing himself as Jesus or God. The album cover shows Kendrick wearing a crown of thorns like it said Jesus did. This is Kendrick painting himself as a Christ-like figure. In his music video for his song Count Me Out, we see more suspicious imagery coming from Kendrick. The video starts with Kendrick at a therapy session, and immediately we can spot the Masonic duality as Kendrick is dressed in black while the therapist is dressed in white. In the opening scene, Kendrick tells his therapist that he thought his time was up and then continues to tell her a story about an incident that happened to him where he admits to lying to someone and feeling decent about it. This part is very important and revealing, but would most likely go over most people's heads. Kendrick opening the video by letting the audience know that he is lying to the people but feels good about it is a reference to the deceiver, the father of lies, and you will see what I mean in a second. Kendrick goes on to state that he thought his time was up, referring to Lucifer, whose time has been running out since the fall. To further prove Kendrick is representing Lucifer, the therapist asks Kendrick why he texts her telling her he feels like he has fallen. Then in the very next scene, they show what appears to be a child dressed in red with wings on its back like a fallen angel. The child then ends up being Kendrick. This scene openly depicts Kendrick representing himself as the Antichrist, showing us exactly why he had been depicting himself as Christ in all his previous videos. This is something he continues in his last album GNX. In GNX, Kendrick has a song called Resurrection where he has some very interesting lines. In his song Reincarnated, Kendrick lets us know that the spirit of Lucifer lives within him, like it does in all huge stars. He tells us in the song that he was kicked out of heaven for rebelling against God. He also lets us know that what he represents and teaches is the concept of self-worship and man being their own God through the forbidden knowledge. In the first verse, he raps as the artist John Lee Hooker, also known as the Boogeyman, with Kendrick implying that his spirit was once the same spirit that possessed John Lee Hooker. He rapped, "I got this fire burning in me from within, concentrated thoughts on who I used to be. I'm shedding skin. Every day a new version of me, a third of me demented, cemented in pain, juggling the pros and cons of fame. I don't know how to make friends. I'm a lonely soul. I recollect this isolation I was 4 years old. Truth be told, I've been battling myself, trying to navigate the real and the fake. Cynical about the judgment day. I did pass life regression last year and it effed me up. Reincarnated on this earth for 100 plus. Body after body, lesson after lesson. Let's take it back to Michigan in 1947. My father kicked me out the house because I wouldn't listen to him. I don't care about his influence, only love what I was doing. Gifted as a musician, I played guitar on a grand level. The most talented where I'm from, but I had to rebel. And I'm so off in the sunset searching for my place in the world. With my guitar up on my hip as the story unfurled, I found myself with a pocket full of money and a whole lot of respect. While the record business loved me, I was head of rhythm and blues, the woman that fell to their feet, so many to choose. But I manipulated power as I lied to the masses, died with money. Gluttony was too attractive, reincarnated. There's a lot of important information in this verse. First, we see him make a reference to having this concentrated fire within him. This is actually connected to occult knowledge and illumination through forbidden knowledge. This is referring to the fire of Prometheus. Prometheus was the god who stole the fire from the Olympian gods and gave it to man, disobeying the gods. In this case, The fire represents forbidden knowledge, the knowledge of good and evil, which Prometheus took from the gods and gave to man so they can be as the gods. Prometheus is another representation of Lucifer, who through the serpent led Adam and Eve to the forbidden knowledge. In this verse, Kendrick is referring to himself as Prometheus and Lucifer. He has the fire within him, which is the forbidden knowledge. He then continues in the song by talking about being reincarnated and how he's been in body after body, telling his life as the musician John Lee Hooker. The most important part of this verse was when he rapped, "But I manipulated power as I lied to the masses, died with money, gluttony was too attractive, reincarnated." Kendrick admits that he manipulated his power and lied to the masses, again referring to the forbidden knowledge and Lucifer who deceived mankind. We also see how he admits that at the end, the forbidden knowledge still ended in death. Even though Lucifer claimed that through the forbidden knowledge man wouldn't die, the forbidden knowledge still corrupted their souls and ended in their death. Sin still took the victory as they were enslaved by it. Kendrick is telling us that through this forbidden knowledge, the knowledge of Prometheus, he gained the power and used it to manipulate the masses. But it also led to his downfall because it corrupted him. In the second verse, he raps, "Another life had placed me as a black woman in the chitlin circuit, seductive vocalist as the promoter hit the curtains. My voice was angelic, straight from heaven. The crowd sobbed. A musical genius, what the articles emphasized. Had everything I wanted, but I couldn't escape addiction. Needles had me in fatal positions restricted. Turned on my family. I went wherever cameras be. No private planes for my insanity. Self-indulged, discipline never been my sentiments. I needed drugs. To me, an 8-ball was penicillin. F-love. My happiness was in that brown sugar. Sex and melodies gave me hope when nobody was looking. My first assistant was a small-town scholar. Never did a quaalude till I got myself around her. My daddy looked the other way. He saw sin in me. I died with syringes pinched in me. Reincarnated." In this verse, Kendrick claims to now be reincarnated in a female artist, who just like the last artist, used the forbidden knowledge to achieve what she wanted, but at the end, sin still destroyed their soul. Kendrick is letting us know that all these artists have been using Lucifer's forbidden knowledge, trying to achieve illumination, trying to become God, but at the end, it still destroyed them and took their soul. The last verse is the most important and brings all of this together. He raps in the last verse, "My present life is Kendrick Lamar, a rapper looking at the lyrics to keep you in awe. The only factor I respected was raising the bar. My instincts send material straight to the charts. My father kicked me out the house. I finally forgive him. I'm old enough to understand the way I was living. Ego and pride had me looking at him with resentment. I close my eyes, hoping I don't come off as contentious. I'm yelling, Father, did I finally get it right? Everything I did was selfless. I spoke freely when the people needed me. I helped them. I didn't gloat, even told them no when the vultures came. Took control of my fleshly blood when the money changed. Son, you do well, but your heart is closed. I can tell residue that lingers from your past creates itself. Father, I'm not perfect. I got urges, but I hold them down. But your pride has to die. Okay, Father, show me how. Tell me every deed that you've done and what you did it for. I kept 100 institutions paid. Okay, tell me more. I put 100 hoods on one stage. Okay, tell me more. I'm trying to push peace in LA, but you love war. No, I don't. Oh, yes, you do. Okay, then tell me the truth. Every individual is only a version of you. How can they forgive when there's no forgiveness in your heart? I can tell you where I'm going. I can tell you who you are. You fell out of heaven because you was anxious, didn't like authority, only searched to be heinous. Isaiah 14 was the only thing that was prevalent. My greatest music director was you. It was colors, it was pinks, it was red, it was blues. It was harmony and motion. I sent you down to earth because you was broken. Rehabilitation, not psychosis. But now we're here now. Centuries you manipulated man with music. Embodied you as a superstar to see how you moving. You came a long way from garnishing evilish views. All I ever wanted from you was love and approval. I learned a lot. No more putting these people in fear. The more that world is diminished, the more it's not real. The more light that I can capture, the more I can feel. I'm using words for inspiration as an idea, so you can promise that you won't take your gifts for granted. I promise that I'll use my gifts to bring understanding. For every man, woman, and child, how much can you vow? I vow my life just to live one in harmony now. You crushed a lot of people, keeping their thoughts in captivity, and I'm ashamed that I ever created that enemy. Then let's rejoice where we're at. I rewrote the devil's story just to take our power back. Carnated. In this verse, Kendrick is talking as himself, the ultimate artist who used the forbidden knowledge without letting it corrupt and destroy him. What he is implying is that he used the forbidden knowledge, and unlike the other artists, it didn't destroy him. He is telling us he is a follower of Lucifer, and he is painting Lucifer as a liberator like the occultists believe. He finally admits that this forbidden knowledge that all these other artists use came from Lucifer. We know this because the rest of the verse plays out as a conversation between God and Lucifer. There's also several hints of this in the verse, as he ends the verse by saying, "I rewrote the devil's story." This implies that he used the forbidden knowledge, and instead of leading to death and destruction, he managed to save himself, becoming his own God and earning his own salvation through the knowledge, not being corrupted by using this forbidden knowledge like the other artists before him. Another important part was when he tells us for centuries you manipulated man with music, embodied you as a superstar to see how you're moving. This is again referring to Kendrick using Lucifer's forbidden knowledge to manipulate the masses. Another lyric that indicates Kendrick representing himself as Lucifer was when he rapped, "You fell out of heaven because you was anxious, didn't like authority, only searched to be heinous. My greatest music director was you. It was colors, it was pinks, it was reds, it was blue. It was harmony and motion. I sent you down to earth because you was broken." Many people believe that Lucifer was the head of the choir in heaven, and that his most powerful gift was the power of music. Kendrick is playing off of this and implying that Lucifer is the god of music here on earth, the god of the forbidden knowledge, the music that they've used to manipulate the masses. In this verse, Kendrick makes it clear that he is having a conversation with God, and he is representing Lucifer, claiming that Lucifer has reincarnated inside of him. What he means by this is that he used the forbidden knowledge of Lucifer to become his own god, claiming that he finally was able to ascend to a level of illumination instead of the knowledge corrupting him. He's telling us he rewrote the devil's story, and instead of it leading to the fall of man, it led to the rise of man as a god. This song is not only blasphemous, but pushes the same ideologies that all of the music industry pushes. This is why Kendrick compared himself to several other artists. He's telling us that he finally achieved illumination through the forbidden teachings that has made him a god on earth. This is what Kendrick has been showing us for the last few years. That's the reason why he wore the crown of thorns, comparing himself to Jesus. The worst part was when he wore it for his BBC performance. He was seen with fake blood trying to imitate Christ. In that performance, while seemingly mocking Christ, he was standing up for women's body rights, meaning women's rights to abortion, something that wouldn't really be seen as acceptable by Christ or most Christians. In this performance, he was clearly presenting himself as Christ, which for a Christian seems to be disrespectful and seems to fall in line with Hollywood's constant disrespect of Christ. Kendrick also presented himself as Christ in his music video for N95. Throughout the video, he is shown levitating while a child seems to worship him and praise him. Kendrick also shows himself walking on water, also mocking other Christ-like poses in the video. In his video All of the Stars with SZA, Kendrick again shows himself as a god. This time, he's on a boat being carried by a sea of worshippers as if he were God. Many people defend these actions by claiming Kendrick has a song where he tells people that he's not their savior. So if he knows that, why does he choose to dress up like Christ, who us Christians believe is our savior? Why pretend to be Christ if you're then telling people you're not their savior? What point is he trying to make? Well, according to what he rapped on Family Ties, he thinks he is a prophet and even claims that he is the Omega and the only way to the Lord is through him, essentially calling himself Jesus. He rapped, "I am the Omega, PG Lang, Rolly Gang, SIE. Don't you address me unless it's with 4 letters. I'm not a trending topic, I'm a prophet. I answer to Metatron and Gabriel, the Elohim, the rebirth. Before you get to the Father, you gotta holla at me first." Now let's break down these lyrics. As you can see in these lyrics, he calls himself the Elohim, which is another name for God, indicating that he's implying that he is God. Kendrick called himself the Omega. That comes from God calling himself the Alpha and the Omega in the book of Revelations. In Revelations 22:13, it states, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end." So here we have Kendrick calling himself the Omega, again, implying that he is God. He then calls himself a prophet that only answers to Metatron and Gabriel. If you look up Metatron, you find out that he is actually a mythical angel in Jewish mysticism which is the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah was heavily inspired by Gnosticism, which is what Kendrick routinely shows us he's a part of. Now, the Christian Gnostics believe that they can become Christ-like and transcend the physical body through mystical rituals. Now, in this verse, the most blasphemous thing Kendrick states is that before you get to the Father, you have to talk to him first. This comes from John 14:6. Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Clearly, Kendrick is claiming that he is Christ and that he is the only way to the Father. So seeing all of this imagery depicting himself as Christ, it's not just imagery. It's connected to what he believes, and he believes he has transcended to a level of Christ. These lyrics are as blasphemous as him wearing the crown of thorns and pretending to be Jesus Christ. This was the second red flag. Let's move on though. The next thing we need to talk about is his SNL performance from back in 2014. During this performance, we can see some extremely questionable imagery come from Kendrick Lamar. I have put this performance in many of my past videos on Kendrick, and I didn't mention the imagery on purpose. I wanted to see how many people were going to mention it without me having to say anything about it. In my last video, only a few people commented that they noticed it. While Kendrick was performing, you can notice that his eyes were pitch black, depicting himself as if he were demonically possessed. Just look at his eyes and you tell me if he doesn't look like he's demonically possessed. The way he's performing and the faces he's making don't sit right with me and can't be looked at as anything else. Kendrick wanted to look as if he were possessed for this performance. Again, if he's a Christian, why would he perform like this? This presents Kendrick as he was being controlled by demonic forces. If this performance doesn't make you question his choice of imagery, his Super Bowl performance should. This year, Kendrick was the lucky artist chosen to perform at one of the biggest stages in the world, the Super Bowl stage. He did what all of his fans desperately wanted. He managed to annihilate Drake in front of the world. But while most people were focused on the song, they didn't pick up on the occult imagery Kendrick had all over his set. Before they showed Kendrick, they subliminally let us know that all of this was going to be rooted in the spiritual. They depicted this with the Apple portal. After they showed the Caesar Superdome, they then zoom into the Apple symbol, which turns into a portal that leads to the performance. This is extremely important. Now, we all know the story of Adam and Eve from the Bible, the story of the forbidden fruit that represents the forbidden knowledge. While in the Bible, the type of fruit on the tree is never mentioned, the apple has been chosen as a symbol to represent the forbidden fruit, with the image of the bitten apple representing biting the forbidden fruit. I know the Bible doesn't mention it as an apple, but over the years, the apple has been used as a representation of the forbidden fruit. We are shown in the performance the camera zooming into the bitten apple, turning into a portal. This represents the forbidden knowledge, the ritual that was going to be displayed at the event through occult symbols. Most of the occult knowledge taught is attributed to the forbidden knowledge Lucifer introduced Adam and Eve to through the serpent. This being shown represents a portal to the spiritual world and forbidden knowledge. Let's keep moving on. The next thing we need to talk about is the first thing that is shown in the performance. The first thing after the Apple portal, we see what most people think are video game controller buttons flashing on the floor. This is not at all what this represents. Like I said, the Apple portal symbolizes the portal to forbidden knowledge. These symbols aren't controller buttons, but symbols of alchemy. The triangle, square, circle, and X are all alchemic symbols. The upright triangle represents the symbol of fire in alchemy, and it's also a symbol of masculinity. This is why it was shown upright at the beginning of the performance. The inverted triangle represents water in alchemy, or femininity. It's why when SZA was shown, she was shown standing in an inverted triangle. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, as we will be talking more about SZA's part in all of this a bit later. Now, the X is a symbol of copper and a female symbol as well. Now, I know you may be wondering, what about the square and the circle? The symbol of what's called the Great Work, or the Philosopher's Stone in alchemy, is this symbol here, a circle with a triangle inside of it. Inside of that triangle, we find the square with a circle inside of that. This is the symbol of the great work, when man uses the teachings of alchemy to become divine as God. This is why these symbols are there. This performance is meant to represent Kendrick in America going through the great work and transcending into the new illuminated America. Let's keep going. The next thing we're shown is Samuel L. Jackson dressed up as Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is leading the ritual, which makes perfect sense because Uncle Sam is actually a Freemason. If you look it up, the artist who created the Uncle Sam we all know was a Freemason. James Montgomery Flagg, who created the modern version of Uncle Sam, was a 33rd degree Freemason. This means Uncle Sam is a 33rd degree Freemason who was leading the alchemic ritual that was being held during the halftime show. This represents Samuel Jackson as the lodge leader who is leading the ceremony. This is why he is seen instructing Kendrick and telling him what to do. Masonry is heavily rooted in alchemy. Most of the higher degree rituals are alchemic rituals, just like we're seeing in this performance. There are way more occult Masonic symbols hidden in this performance, so don't go nowhere. I'm only getting started. The next moment of Masonic imagery comes from the backup dancers. During a point in the performance, Uncle Sam, the Freemason leading the ritual, tells Kendrick to tighten up. This is when the backup dancers are seen making an American flag behind Kendrick. At one point, all the dancers are making this pose here. This pose is a Freemason pose called the Grand Hailing Sign of Distress. Now, we see Uncle Sam, the 33rd degree Freemason, tell Kendrick to tighten up. Then immediately after, the dancers are doing this Masonic pose, which we are told is a symbol Masons do when they need help, but I believe the true meaning of this pose is only revealed to Master Masons. Another occult symbol they show is when they show Kendrick's dancer hanging on a light pole. This is an occult symbol that comes from the tarot cards, and it represents self-sacrifice. In this context, this card means the time for waiting is over, meaning the wait for America's great work, America's great transformation is over. The new Masonic order is ready to be unveiled. Now let's talk about SZA's part of the performance. When SZA was shown, she was presented inside of an inverted triangle. Like I said earlier, the inverted triangle is a symbol of femininity or women, and also a symbol of water in alchemy. This is why when SZA is shown, she is shown with female backup dancers that are all dressed in blue, symbolizing water. The great work is seen as a merger of the opposites, the merger of femininity and masculinity, which if you combine both symbols, the inverted triangle and the upright triangle, it makes the seal of Solomon, or what most people call the Star of David. SZA herself is shown wearing all red, as she is supposed to represent the Scarlet Woman in the ritual. The Scarlet Woman is always represented in red, and we can see that throughout many Super Bowl performances. During Thelema rituals, the Scarlet Woman is a conduit for the divine feminine energies of Babylon, a goddess in the Thelemic occult system. SZA is representing this feminine component to the Great Work ritual. This is why she is shown on an inverted triangle that represents feminine energy and water. This is also why she is wearing all red, which represents the Scarlet Woman, and this is why her backup dancers are dressed in blue to represent water, which is again feminine energy and alchemy. Now on top of this, if you look closely at the moment they show SZA in the inverted triangle, they make it appear like a Masonic apron, again, indicating this was all a Masonic alchemic ritual. This is a Masonic apron given to all members when they join. Now look at how they depict SZA when she's introduced. Clearly, it's meant to represent a Masonic apron. They then show Kendrick approach SZA, who is the masculine energy. Right after showing SZA in the inverted triangle, they show Kendrick's dancers ritually dancing around a circle. Like I said earlier, the circle is a part of the symbol of the great work. We then see Kendrick and SZA inside of the circle while the dancers ritually dance around them. This represents the alchemic change happening in the merger of femininity and masculinity, the combination that leads to the great work. After this, we are shown Samuel Jackson again smiling as he knows the ritual is going as planned and it's almost completed. We then see all the dancers fill up the alchemic symbols as they all light up, representing the great transformation is completed. That's how the halftime show ends, as the ritual is completed. This is by far one of the most occult-driven performances I have seen in a long time. The entire thing from beginning to end was full of occult symbols that tell us this story. The 33rd degree Freemason Uncle Sam led the Great Transformation ceremony ritual. I guarantee you the Masons watching the performance were so proud. Some small details I noticed were Kendrick wearing a diamond-studded eye ring, which is a symbol of illumination through forbidden knowledge. I also noticed DJ Mustard wearing a jacket with a slanted inverted star. This performance wasn't just a performance, it was a ritual. That's what all these performances are, especially the Super Bowl. The fact that Kendrick was chosen to perform at the Super Bowl by Jay-Z should let you know everything you need to know. Kendrick didn't take out Drake, he replaced him. The label saw Drake getting too much power and used the number 2 to get rid of him. Now it's Kendrick's turn to run hip-hop, his turn to be the number 1 puppet. While I used to listen to Kendrick and even at one point believe this persona, at a certain point, it became impossible to not notice he was just another industry puppet just like Drake. The industry wouldn't give him 5 Grammys and 1 award show. They wouldn't make his album #1, and they definitely wouldn't invite him to perform at the Super Bowl. Just like Drake, his downfall will come when the labels are done using him. Well, I'm gonna end this one here. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.